Taking a look at the exist function, we want to check whether the result of a correlated nested query is empty or not. So we've previously gone over our nesting of queries, and that's just like the basic nesting, and then we've gone over our comparison operators, which takes care of some of the restrictions we have with nesting of queries. So those can be found in the playlist link below the like button, but here we're going to talk about the exist function, as well as an example. So here we want to check whether the result of a correlated nested query is empty. So we're using nested queries here. So as an example, because to do this we really have to show it, we want to retrieve the name of each employee who has a dependent with the same first name as the employee. Now previously I did a problem on this and I got it incorrect. So we're doing it here, but we're using the exist function with nested queries. This is a lot cooler. So we want to retrieve the names of employees who have no dependents. So basically what we want is we want to get the first names here and just of the employees, because if we look at our table right here, which is the diagram that we're going off of, our dependents only have a dependent name, which is the first name. Now dependents are related to our employee, ESSN and SSN, so we need to connect those together as well. So that's important to keep in mind here. Coming back down here, again, we retrieve the name of each employee. So for our outer query, we want to select the first name and last name because the name for each employee is including both. This is from our employee. I'm using an alias here just because it's going to be great and it's a good practice. And then this is where exists. So this is what our exist function does. What we're doing in here is we are going to see if an employee has, or the dependent has the same name as an employee. That's what we're doing inside of here. And if this is true, if this exists, that means we are going to retrieve these names. So what names do we want to retrieve? Well, inside of here, we would be retrieving the dependent's first name if it's the same as the employee's first name. So we have where exists. We of course have our select, our from, and our where in here. And I just have some notes right here that we'll go over afterwards. So we want to select our dependent's first name. That's what we want to pass in, right? Well, not really, because we can pass in anything here. Remember, this exists is not checking for anything, just like our other query or the comparison operators. This exists is just saying if there's something inside of here, which this dependent would be, we want to select the first name and the last name of that employee. So we're going to check every single employee and then every single dependent, just correlating to them. So we want to select the dependent first name, or we can select whatever we want. We can list whatever we want here. We just need to see if it exists. Or we can use this star, like an asterisk, and this means to grab all entities. So it's going to grab all of the entities inside of here, or the attributes, not entities, should be attributes. That's important to note. So it's going to grab all the attributes. So we just have select and then a star or an asterisk right here. That may make everything easier. Where is this coming from? Well, this is coming from our dependent table. So dependent as D. We're using another alias here. And this is where our dependent ESSN is equal to our employee SSN. Remember, they're related to each other. So they need to be keys and they need to kind of connect with each other. If they're equal, then that means they're the same. So we have this right here. The dependent ESSN is our ESSN. It doesn't mean that they're the same. It just means that this dependent is dependent on our employee. So we're really just checking dependents here. And then we have we have our d.dependent name is equal to our e.first name. So this is where we're checking the names right here. Now, if this happens, so we're going through every single of our employees' social security numbers, and we see that we have a dependent ESSN that matches that, well, we want to check that. And then we see, well, is the dependent name equal to our E first name, which is our employee? If this is true, we are golden. This is from our dependent as D, and we just want to select whatever we have in here. It exists, and we're returning this employee's first name and last name. So that's how that would all work. Now, we could possibly do like a nested query inside of here, but there's no need to do that when it's something as simple. Nested queries is just for something that's more complex like this, or the previous examples that we have in the playlist linked below the like button. Okay, so I just realized I made a little bit of a mistake here. I accidentally put this bullet point, which was an example, for a totally different thing above here. So this query was pertaining to this right here. Now this one is where it has no so we're retrieving the names of employees who have no dependents here. So it's kind of like the previous one, but it's going to be a little different as well. So we are using the not exists here. We're selecting from the e first name and e last name because we're retrieving the names of employees. This is from our employee as e, where it does not exist. So we just include a not exist here. We have our select. We're doing an asterisk just because the asterisk is an encompassing of everything, like we said. This is happening from our department. We're making an alias as D. And I just copied this, so we're going to make a correction here because this is where our DESSN is equal to our ESSN. And that's correct. But we no longer need this part right here because we need to retrieve the names of the employees who have no dependents. So we have an and, we have our D-dependent underscore name is equal to our e.first name. And we don't need this because they don't need to equal to each other. So if they don't equal to each other, we are just going to have this right here. And again, we're retrieving the names of employees who have no dependents. So we just need to link them together, how we have here, like this. So we're going to go down our list of employees, right? And each of them may or may not have dependents. We're going to check this. This is like a branch. So we have our employees here. It branches off our dependents, dependents, dependents. And from this, if it does have a dependent, we are going to select this from here. Now, if this does not execute, this is a not exists. So we're just going to print out that employee's first name and last name. So that's how that would work.